Welcome back, college football and Hawkeye fans, to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. This is my instant reaction and recap to number 21, Iowa's 20-19 loss yesterday inside Kinnick Stadium to the visiting Iowa State Cyclones. With the loss, Iowa drops to 1-1 out of the season. They will also definitely drop out of the AP Top 25. With the victory, Iowa State improves to 2-0 overall. They will find themselves ranked within the AP Top 25 later this afternoon. And with that victory, they take back to Ames the Cy-Hawk Trophy. So that trophy will take up residence in Ames, Iowa for at least one season. Welcome back, everybody, to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. Lot to unpack as far as what happened during this rivalry game yesterday, and happy Sunday morning to you and yours. I hope you had an excellent weekend. So just overall, if this is your first time joining me for one of these instant reaction and recaps, I appreciate you. Thank you for your continued support, your time, your attention. Please, if you like what you see, like, share, rate, subscribe, but really comment. I mean, this channel, these episodes are really driven by you, the college football fan. So exercise your right, your college football voice. I want to hear from you. So please comment below, and I promise I will get back to each and every one of you much sooner than later. So just in general here, it is the next day, it's the day after. Now, even though I'm calling this an instant reaction, you know what? I always like to sleep on losses and wins, because if it's not something that is an absolute immaculate win or loss, I do like to let it just kind of simmer a little bit on the back burner, think about it, sleep on it, and then go ahead and just give it to you raw, what I think via the stats, what I remember from yesterday's contest. So here we go. And just you can tell, this is exactly the demeanor I had yesterday at the end of this ball game. I am not and was not angry. I am not mad. And here's why. The better team, not just yesterday, but the better team that will be during the entire season won. Iowa State is a better football team. Yours truly, I picked Iowa State to win this ball game before kickoff, and to prove that, it's in my Iowa Hawkeye season preview and prediction episode. If you don't believe me, it's right there. I did pick Iowa State to win this game, and I also did pick preseason Iowa State to make the playoff to win the Big 12 conference outright. So I am that high on the Cyclones. Now, that being said, that's why I am, though, very disappointed. I mean, I can't remember. This is one of the most disappointing losses that I can remember under the Kirk Ferentz regime, and I've been a fan for all 25, 26 seasons. I'm 43 years old. I've been a fan since I was 8 years old. This was such a disappointing loss because of that. And I will get to the specifics of why here shortly. That Iowa State has the better quarterback in Rocco Becht. And what a great name. I mean, Rocco, that's what Michael Corleone's one of his primary enforcers in the Godfather movies. They have a better quarterback. They have much better weapons on the outside and the perimeter and wide receivers, and we saw those cats on display. They absolutely balled out, really just in the second half. I mean, this game was really a tale of two halves, and like I said, I'll dissect that here in a little bit. So we saw that, and having those better perimeter weapons definitely then vaults or increases the status of your quarterback. They have much better defensive backs. Their defensive line is a little bit stout. So the better team did win. And plus having that 6'8" tight end that you can target over the middle, that definitely helps out too. So all that being said, how high I am on Iowa State and what I expect from them this season. That's why this is such a disappointment. But watching this game unfold, me, like all you Hawkeye fans out there, we've seen this movie before. It played out exactly the way we've seen it time and time again for Iowa under Kirk Ferentz. Now, normally, the majority of those times, though, in fairness, Iowa has held on to win these games. But sometimes they have let games like this slip away because of the mindset, how they end up playing when they're up by 2 scores. All right? And that's me. If this is your first time with me, you're going to find out I am very objective. I bleed black and gold, love me some Hawkeyes, born and raised, even though not right now I live in the show me state of Missouri. I love me some Iowa Hawkeye football, but I am not a Homer Simpson. First and foremost, I am a college football fan, and that's why I want to congratulate the Cyclones, the fans, the players, the coaches, the university, everybody. I mean, great game. You got it done. You got it done when it looked like it was very faint at one point. All right. So to really kind of further break this down, that's why this is such a disappointment for me, is Iowa in that first half literally had their foot on Iowa State's throat, but never ever delivered that kill shot. Instead of going for the kill, they let Iowa State get up off the mat slowly and slowly, a little bit here, until boom, they were able to pounce, made it a game, and grabbed the lead. And we've seen this. Like I referred to this as far as the same old movie that once again, Iowa gets up 2 scores, in the third, going into the fourth quarter. And what is the coaching what's the coaching technique? Is let's play to not lose rather than play to win. And it cost us the ball game. And this really could be a huge loss for Iowa, and I'll get to that here shortly. Once again, thank you for your support. Please like, share, subscribe, comment below. Can't wait to hear from you. So the numbers on this game, Rocco Becht absolutely had himself a hell of a ball game, especially in that second half. The Iowa State quarterback, really balled out in the second half. The first half, nothing was really going right for the Cyclones other than their defense holding steady, not once, but twice, inside their own 5-yard line. But Rocco Becht, his ultimate numbers, 23 for 35 for 272 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Other numbers that I want to share with you as far as from Iowa State, total rushing yards for the Cyclones, 28 carries for 89 total yards, averaging 3.2 yards per carry, so not too bad. And that, I think, really is one of the things that tilted the scales in Iowa State's favor as well. They did just enough in the ground game, to where Iowa could not simply just sell out against the pass and say, you know what, you're not going to pass to beat us. You're going to have to ground and pound, run the ball to get out of here with the victory. So they did just enough of a little bit of a nuisance and kind of just chipping away to where Iowa had to honor the run game. I already mentioned Iowa State's stud weapons on the perimeter, wide receivers, Jaylen Nowell, Jaden Higgins, big-time ball players. 5 receptions for 133 yards for Jaylen Nowell, 1 touchdown. Jaden Higgins, 8 receptions for 68 yards, also with the touchdown. And I believe he was the one who caught that first touchdown pass, basically just took it away from the Iowa defensive back. I believe that was TJ Hall Jr., who, if it was, I haven't done the rewatch yet. I probably will tomorrow or over the next couple days. but just took it away from him. And TJ Hall really had himself a rough game. He did. All right. Now moving on to the Iowa numbers. Okay. And this is really what the problem has been. I'm going to start with the positives here for the Hawkeyes. The rushing attack. Wow. I mean, absolutely. This is what we all expected, and this is what we need Iowa football to be. Overall, Iowa rushed for 204 yards on 38 attempts, 5.4 yards per carry. It's been numerous seasons since we've seen anything like that, and that's really what the expectation here should be this season with that veteran offensive line, that stable of running backs that we have. We have three individuals who've shown they can carry and tote the rock for the Hawkeyes. But no one was bigger yesterday than Caleb Johnson for the Hawkeyes. 25 carries, tallied 187 yards, 7.5 total per carry with 2 touchdowns. I mean, the guy was an absolute beast. He was a man among men. And this is really what the head scratcher here is. You're probably thinking to yourself, if you know Iowa football and you say, oh, wow, Iowa ran for 200 plus yards on the ground, only had 2 turnovers, didn't have any special teams snafus. You're going to say 98% of the time when Iowa does that, they're going to be victorious. And that's usually what the winning recipe is for the Hawkeyes. You know, a little bit of salt here, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of paprika, stir it up. But it wasn't to be yesterday. And here's why. Cade McNamara, all right, and just overall, the Iowa quarterback room, that was really the main question mark that it came down to entering this season, is how far Iowa goes is based on the quarterback play. And Cade McNamara, yes, looked absolutely studly last week in week 1 in the second half, specifically against Illinois State, but it ended up being fool's gold. Now, I warned some of you Hawkeye fans, don't quite drink the Kool-Aid yet, because it could have been more a byproduct of the opponent, right? And this was another typical Cade McNamara game that we saw yesterday. And I'm not trying to pile it on this young man. I mean, this is only, I believe, his 7th or 8th start for the Hawkeyes over the last 2 seasons, after last year his season being cut short via injury. But listen to these numbers. He ended up 13 of 29 for 99 yards. Didn't even eclipse the 100-yard barrier for total passing yards. No touchdowns, 2 interceptions, a measly 3.4 yards per completion. Yikes. That is not getting it done. And this is what is really troubling me as a Hawkeye fan. I mean, I'm sure he's a good leader. He's probably a great young man. Obviously, the coaches, the players seem to rally around him, and he should get a fair shake at the starting quarterback position. But Hawkeye fans, during his time in Iowa City, he has yet to really complete one legit big-time leverage completion or play while donning a Hawkeye uniform. He really hasn't. He hasn't had that one big-time completion that ended up icing a big-time game or putting the opponent to sleep, telling their driver, hey, start the bus, let's get ready to roll. He hasn't had that yet as a member of the Iowa Hawkeyes. And it's starting to be a pattern that we're seeing being repeated over and over again. Now, last year maybe might have been different with, much embattled OC Brian Ferentz, who is gone this season. So you can't blame it all on Cade, okay? And you can't, but we need to see better, especially after the money that he is being paid via NIL. We need to see some better results. But I don't blame it all on him. All right. Obviously, his backfield mates, the running backs, definitely did their job. They performed overall. I don't think there was any sacks that were recorded by Iowa State. Let me see here really quick. Let's see. Sacks. It looks like defense. It looks like there was one sack on the day recorded. So his offensive line absolutely protected him, especially in pass protection. And I will say this about his wide receivers. I mean, last week, they looked big. They looked like men among boys. But this week, yesterday's game, they looked like boys among men. The Iowa wide receiver core is definitely not ready to get this team over the hump. I mean, facing a team in Iowa State that's very aggressive, right? There was very, very little separation. They were blanketed the entire day. They just didn't have the ability to even bring in a catch if it was delivered on time in a spot or where it's catchable. There were, I don't want to say any drops that happened, but a lot of the incompletions that ended up falling to the ground or going wayward for Caden McNamara definitely were kind of ill-advised throws in the first place. All right, they probably shouldn't have been thrown, and quite frankly, there should have been at least a couple more interceptions, okay? So once again, the wide receivers for Iowa, they're not doing Caden McNamara or any of their quarterbacks for that matter any favors. They're just not, all right? The transfer wide receiver, for Iowa, who came from Northwestern, Jacob Gill, looks like the best wide receiver on this squad. I mean, I think he is a player, but he can't do it himself. And also to get back to the physicality and the stout defense that Iowa State is, the Iowa tight ends, they were not a factor yesterday. I thought Luke Lachey maybe might even have been hurt, maybe exited the game at some moment when I wasn't watching or paying that much attention. But Luke Lachey, their stud tight end, did not tally a single reception. And their number 2 tight end, Addison Ostranga, only had 1 reception on the day. So the tight ends did not help Caden McNamara either. And that was really an area I thought they would really have much success at, because coming into this game, the Iowa State linebacker core is so beat up. And during this game, early in this game, they lost another one of their linebackers. So I thought the Iowa tight ends just cut them loose over the middle of the field. I thought they were going to have a heyday. But basically, they weren't a factor. They weren't even a part of the game, thanks to Iowa State's defense and the adjustments that they made. But Caden McNamara, it's got to be better than this. I mean, like I said, I can't remember one play that is memorable when it comes to Caden McNamara as a Hawkeye fan. I can't. Well, a positive play, I'll put it that way, because he hasn't made that one reception or that had that one moment yet as a Hawkeye. He hasn't. So, seeing the same movie again, all right? And this is where it's so frustrating and disappointing. It's so disappointing that Iowa could have landed that knockout blow early in the first half. I mean, they score this touchdown. They end up then having 1st and goal from Iowa State's 5 twice. And they are absolutely bludgeoning, bruising, bullying. I'm going to use mauling. Mauling's the best word here. They were absolutely mauling the shit out of Iowa State on the ground. I already shared with you the rushing totals for Iowa. They could not stop Iowa's rushing attack. All right? And each of those 2 possessions, from the 5 with goal to go, they threw the ball 4 times. So you stop doing what's working. Now, pause for a second. Here's my pause key. A lot of us Hawkeye fans, we have complained about this, though, over the last few seasons. We've said, oh, we're tired of the same old vanilla offense. We know what's coming. They're going to run it 2 or 3 times. And then on 3rd and goal or 4th and goal from the 1 or 2, here comes the quarterback sneak, right? So I understand why a lot of Hawkeye fans yesterday might have been happy to see that. Oh, wow, they're going to throw on 1st and 2nd down or 2nd and 3rd down inside the 10-yard line. Hey, that's different. That's great. So I understand that, but you still just want to win the game, all right? And that's what irritates me. It's like at that point, don't stop what's working for you. Iowa just got too damn cute, and they did. But kudos to Iowa State's defense, to hold Iowa to 2 field goals. Going into halftime, it's 13-0. Iowa State's place kicker, he missed, I believe it was a 41-yard field goal at the end of the half. Iowa opens the half on defense. They force another 3 and out. And here was the moment. This was, once again, they were set up to deliver that blow and put this game out of reach. There was a botched punt by Iowa State. And just to tell you, just how bad it was for Iowa State in that first half, they benched their punter. He did come in later in the game because I believe after the first 2 punts, he couldn't even catch it cleanly, bobbled it a couple times. So they could do nothing right that first half. So Iowa's first possession, after a botched punt, they have it on the Iowa State, I believe, 43, maybe 42, 44-yard line. And at that point, run the ball. A touchdown drive there makes it 20-0. At that point, this game is pretty much over. I'm not going to say 100%, but it's 90% chance that this game is over. It's 3 full scores. Iowa State's probably not going to come back. You silence that potential comeback. You put them out of their misery at that point, but they didn't. So what does Iowa do? On the very first play from scrimmage, on first and 10, I believe it was the 42 or 43, they do this rollout with Cade McNamara, a throwback to the left side. It resolves with an interception for Iowa State, and then they go up top for a touchdown. At that point, I get it. Most people are probably thinking exactly that. Hey, let's go for a play action pass. Let's go long right now for some points. That's really what most of us were probably thinking. But to go against the grain, keep the ball on the ground. That was their moment. If they score there, the game's over. I'm really very, very confident the game was over at that point. But Iowa State, once again, to their credit and their coaching staff, they hung in there. They never lost their composure. They kept focused. They didn't let it linger in their minds too much, and they moved on and kept their composure in their heads, came back, and got it done. Ultimately kicked a 54-yard field goal with 6 seconds left, held Iowa on their ensuing possession to win. So kudos to the place kicker for Iowa State to miss an early field goal but come back for the game-winning field goal. And that's something that Iowa State fans have really been haunted by for many seasons, to where they've had these special team snafus overall, but really especially in the Cyhawk game. And because I've seen it. I've been a part of it just like you have, Iowa State fans, and welcome to all of you too to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. But it's just Iowa did not go for the victory. Once again, we're up 2 possessions, and in typical Kirk Ferentz fashion, let's just try to tick, 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 run the ball out, and let's not go for the victory. Let's go ahead and play not to lose. Okay, and that's what it was. It just continues to happen season and season in and out. It's just like I said, the reoccurring film. Boy, oh boy, it's just, and once again, the Iowa State defense, they made those adjustments. In the second half, they knew they were getting gashed, especially off tackle, and they sold out against Iowa's run and said, you know what? You're not going to run to beat us. We're going to make Caden McNamara. You're going to have to make a play or two or three. You're going to have to throw to beat us. And they gambled, and Iowa could not respond. So they made the correct adjustments. The Iowa coaching staff did not. And it's proven what we saw happen with just about 3 minutes to go. It's fourth down for Iowa State. Yes, they were deep in their own territory. At that point, it's 19-17, 3 minutes to go, and Iowa State punts to Iowa. Now, if I look at Iowa State's schedule, and I'm not going to do that I bet you right now that if it's against anybody else on that schedule, they are not going to punt. They are going to go for it with 3 minutes to go. But the reason why, Matt Campbell, head coach of Iowa State, he knows exactly what Kirk Ferentz is going to do. He's going to try to run the ball game out, and they knew, hey, we make a stop, we're going to get the ball back, and we're going to have a chance to kick that winning field goal. All right? So he knew it. We all knew it at that point. And when they got the ball back, I get they're trying to make Iowa State use their timeouts, right? But I would have been totally fine if Iowa would have maybe thrown a pass on second or third down, trying to get that first down. That's what we want to see. That's what we want to see from this new offense. And yes, Tim Lester's offense, after only 2 weeks, is considerably better than Brian Ferentz's offenses. So, hey, I'm happy with the improvement, but right there, that's the key word. Improvement, it still needs a lot of additional improvement. It just does. So unfortunate, very disappointing loss. But, hey, this guy right here saw it coming. But Iowa had it, and that is what is so frustrating again. It was right there in front of them for the taking. But, you know what? It's water under the bridge now. Time to move on. So where do we go from here? Iowa hosts Troy next weekend in Iowa City. Iowa State has that early season bye. Then they play at home against, I believe, the Arkansas State Red Wolves. It's probably a good bye, a good time for a bye for Iowa State because they are so beat up, especially in the linebacker position. I'm going to say this. I do not expect Brendan Sullivan, the Northwestern quarterback that Iowa brought in late in the transfer portal in the spring. I do not expect him to be the starting quarterback next week against Troy. Caden McNamara still does deserve that opportunity, especially with all the money that he's being paid, okay? And he does know this system the best. He is the more veteran and experienced of the two, all right? But if we don't see Brendan Sullivan next week for not just one possession in garbage time with 4 minutes to go, Iowa's up. Okay, here comes QB Sullivan in there. No. If we don't see him in there for multiple series, other than, of course, if there is some sort of injury to Caden McNamara, which we don't want to see. I never want to see any of these amateur athletes, theoretically amateur athletes anymore. I never want to see any of them ever get banged up or hurt for either team. I don't. But other than that, if we don't see him in there next week for multiple series, then we're going to have a problem. We just are. He needs to get out there just to see what he has. Remember, this is a quarterback that Tim Lester highly recruited when he was still the head coach at Western Michigan. He wanted Brendan Sullivan to come play and be the starter for Western Michigan when he was there. So obviously he feels this quarterback fits his system, all right? So let's just see what we have in him. We got nothing to lose. and everything to gain. All right? And I'm going to say this real quick. I mean, about the playoffs, I'm going to wrap this up here in a few minutes, I promise. Thank you for your time and attention and everything else. I know I'm going a little bit long here today, but I love you. I appreciate you. Please subscribe, comment below. I don't want to talk anymore about Iowa and the playoffs, okay? Before the season started, I told you that this team is not a playoff caliber team. I told you in my Iowa Hawkeye preview episode, I thought that they would be one of the first 4 teams out. I predicted their overall record would be 9-3 with losses to Iowa State, Ohio State, and UCLA. But I also said I think their ceiling is 10-2 with losses all at 10-2, best case scenario, still against Iowa State and Ohio State. So being 10-2, which they still could end up being 10-2, I still think they will be in the discussion, but they will miss out for a berth for the 12-team playoff, primarily now because I don't see a lot of quality wins for them. This would have been an absolute tilting point for them. If you have 4 teams vying for the last 3 at-large bids, and Iowa State ends up winning the Big 12, which I still think they will, or at least getting to the Big 12 title game, compared to the other 3 teams that you're comparing your resume against, then that's going to favor Iowa over anybody. No one else is going to probably have a victory over a team of that caliber. So I just don't see Iowa now in the playoffs. I mean, I guess they can. Playoffs? No. I don't want to talk about that anymore, at least until mid to late October. I just don't. I just don't think they're a playoff team. But we'll have to wait and see. And it really is a shame. That's why this was such a big time opportunity for Iowa to get that huge non-conference victory, which I think you're going to have so many teams vying for those last few at-large bids. It's going to come down to not just strength of schedule, who you played, who you lost to, or overall record, but it's going to come down to, I think, the non-conference. And Iowa, man, just disappointing. But that's it. That's where we go from here, guys. I appreciate you, being your usual host, Blair Parks. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening. The NFL is in full effect today for all of you fans of the National Football League. It's your holiday. Enjoy it. But until next week, I should be back for my Week 3 picks and predictions. Until then, have a great week. Be safe. Be responsible. Go black and gold. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.